we have only taken the first step in curing our economy and making sure that it is moving on the right track. And I will not rest until businesses are investing again and businesses are hiring again and people have work again.
Well, he got half a news cycle to talk about jobs thanks to that cabinet meeting, but the agenda has quickly shifted.
Good thing he's not resting, because there's still a lot to do before Thanksgiving. Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABCNews.com's Top Line. I'm David Chalian.
And I'm Rick Klein.
Each weekday we're bringing you the very latest political headlines, reporting, insight, analysis, everything you need and want to know about politics.
And this pre-lunch snack goes all day long at Twitter. It's twitter.com/thenotes. Let us know what you think.
What is your top line today, sir?
Exit ramps. President Obama finally ready to announce a new Afghanistan strategy. It's going to happen next Tuesday, a week from today, in a primetime address. The question will immediately become, though, David, how many allies does he have with him? If he actually goes along with, sort of with the McChrystal recommendations, but doesn't fully embrace them, does he get either the left or the right to be on board?
Well, I'm guessing he'll get some Republicans to be on board with some complaints, but his real problem is going to be inside of his own party. It'll be fascinating to watch the response. Hot ticket, yes, the most overused phrase of the day, the hottest ticket in town. That's what everybody is referring to, the state dinner for the Indian Prime Minister tonight, and we will certainly talk about this kind of diplomacy inside some glitz and glamour.
And our invitation's lost again, so disappointing. But,
so disappointing.
Maybe next time. Reagan rules. Ronald Reagan had a saying that if you agreed with him 8 times out of 10, then he was your friend. Well, now some in the Republican Party want to make Republicans your enemy if it's less than 8 out of 10, if you score 7 or fewer on this list of demands that they've put out. There's going to be a proposition going through the Republican National Committee. Not exactly the storyline that Republicans need to talk more about the infighting, but a lot of folks feel very strongly about this, that if you don't adhere to some of these core principles, you're not a Republican.
It's not unlike what Chairman Steele told us right after the 2009 election. There are certain things you have to stick by. They're trying to embrace it, wrap it in this Reagan principle of 80-20. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of debate within the Republican National Committee. I don't think that every Republican is on board with this yet. It'll be fascinating to watch how that develops. But you're right, Rick. This is really taking their dirty laundry and putting it on display for everyone to see. And stubborn senator. Yes, Joe Lieberman in the Wall Street Journal today makes it crystal clear, if it wasn't yet already, for all of you watching all of the public option tea leaves, he is not going to support a health care bill with any kind of public option at all. No trigger, no... So this begs the question, I guess we need to now watch Harry Reid move back to a trigger option, because without Lieberman, he needs to bring Olympia Snowe on board.
You're exactly right. I mean, he could not make any more clear. You got to give up on him supporting a bill that's going to have anything that even looks like or smells like a public option.
But we did begin in a conversation we taped just a little bit ago with Sally Quinn of the Washington Post, because there is absolutely nobody better in this town to talk about a state dinner with than Sally Quinn. Sally Quinn, I want to begin by asking if you think there's a concern at all when you have all the glitz and glamour of a state dinner in this current economic climate. Is it problematic at all for the White House, do you think, in terms of, especially now, Afghanistan, the economy, all the complicating messaging that's coming out of the White House? Does the glitz and glamour of a state dinner confuse that for the White House?
I think just exactly the opposite, because I think that the whole point of a state dinner is about diplomacy and about foreign policy. And we are wooing the Indians. And this is the point of this state dinner. This is why we are honoring them, because they are playing such a significant role in that part of the world, with Afghanistan, with Pakistan, with China. They're a democracy. We really need the Indians. They've got the nukes, and so do the Pakistanis. Religion plays a large part in this. So I think that this way of honoring the Indians and making friends and creating a sense of community with them is probably the smartest thing we could do in terms of foreign policy.
But a lot of this is glitz and glamour. We'll have Hollywood folks, the world for entertainment, media, a lot of the glitterati that show up for something like this.
Well, but that's part of it. We want to entertain them. We want to honor them. We want to show them the best of what we have. We want to show them a variety of people. We want a diversity of people from this country and different worlds. We want the Hollywood crowd. They've got Bollywood. You know, Hollywood is really crucial to the Indians because they have a movie business themselves. We want people from the business world. We want people from the, you know, the economic community, the academic, the news media. So I think that the glitz and glamour is part of what makes it attractive and interesting to people all over the world, because if it weren't, nobody would pay any attention. But by making it to be glitzy and glamorous, this is not going to be seen just by people in this country, but by people in India and by people all over the world.
And in all your years of covering state dinners and being around them, is it that diplomatic mission that you find is always leading the way for the White House, that this really is diplomacy front and center first?
Absolutely. That's the whole point. And you know, you get the suggestions from people in the State Department and National Security Council probably have more say than anybody else over who's on the guest list. Then you start adding the glitz and the glamour. But first you have to really make sure that you've got the people who you need to bolster the invitation list to make it really an important event for the guests.
I just want to ask a superficial question as well.
Go right ahead.
Does it matter that it's in a tent versus the dining room? Does that matter to you?
No, no. I mean, you know, it's really nice to have dinner in the White House, but it only holds 100. The East Room, probably 160 some people, and for a dinner of this kind, particularly since it's the first state dinner, there are probably 5,000 people who should have been on the guest list. So to cull it down to even 230, which is probably going to be, there's blood all over the floor. And so I think, you know, and when we're talking about a tent, we're not talking about just a tent. They basically they build a room. No one's going to get wet, and everybody's going to be warm, and it's going to be beautiful and glamorous, and you'll go through the White House. And so I don't think that that's an issue at all.
Does it surprise you that it's taken this long for the Obamas to have their first one? We've seen these ebb and flow over the years. The Bushes didn't really seem to like them. The Clintons did it all the time. Did it surprise you, and do you expect to see more over the balance of the Obama administration?
Yeah, I would have thought that they would have done more state dinners. I mean, the Bushes did almost none in 8 years. The Reagans did it constantly. The Clintons were not necessarily state dinners, but they would have these huge bashes on tents on the lawn for 700 or 800 people. But I do think that state dinners are so valuable in terms of diplomacy and foreign policy that I would like to see the Obamas do more, because I think it's very valuable.
And quickly, how much planning goes into an event like this?
Oh,
and how far in advance does the planning begin?
You have no idea. I mean, the planning is months and months and months, because every single detail has to be perfect. I mean, you know, the Prime Minister is a vegetarian, so you have to make sure that the meal not only is delicious for everybody, but also meets his standards. Right. You know, you have to decide, Michelle Obama has to decide on the dress. Certainly you have to decide on the entertainment and the flowers and the china, and all of those things are just down to the minutest detail have to be thought through, so that there are no glitches, so that when people get to the White House, they can get in.
Right.
I mean, that's happened before. Security, where people didn't have the right pass, or their name wasn't on the guest list or something, and that's a problem. So you've got to make sure that when people get there, they can actually get into the White House.
And very briefly, the most important question, how do you get invited to one of these? Or is it one of these things where if you have to ask, you're out of luck?
No, I think that there are a lot of people who put a lot of pressure on the White House. And then I think that some people in the White House have special favors they want to do for their friends, and you know, people they want to pay back. And, you know, it's just a lot of, but, you know, there are a lot of people who ask, who call, who cry. I've heard people calling and crying, begging to be invited, because it's a really special deal. It's interestingly, a lot of people from Washington don't get to go. For us, it's more of a spectator sport. I mean, we watch it and we observe it, and you know, we go over the guest list with a microscope, and you know, everybody who's invited. But that's part of our scene here, and what we all enjoy. I think most people here don't expect to get invited, but there are a lot of people who do want to, and will go to great lengths to try.
Excellent. Sally Quinn of the Washington Post, who in addition to your On Faith column that you've been doing there, for this holiday season, you're doing a new entertaining column as well,
Yes,
which is excellent.
that's right.
So thank you very much for being
Thank
here.
you.
Nobody's better than you at this, so we
Blood,
greatly
blood on the
appreciate
floor
it.
and tears on the floor. I love it.